So there are a lot of streamers and content creators out there that have voiced their opinions on what people do wrong when playing Call of Duty. And, well, I'm going to join them. I feel that being a below average gamer at best, that I may be able to assist those like myself. Us in the bot community. And I've come up with 5 issues we seem to ignore or be unaware of as bots that make our games difficult. Number 1. Rushing or pushing. Now, we all know what this one is. It's where we've gotten excited that we've damaged a player. So, naturally, we have the urge to go and get that kill. We become so eager to fight and get that kill that we blink for ourselves and forget that other players are also in this game. On most occasions, we become so heavily focused on getting that one kill in particular that we jeopardise the rest of our game, especially if, like myself, you'd like to see a positive ED at the end. And that does go for Warzone playstyle as well. I myself, and so many like me, I am sure will down a player and have this sudden urge to follow up, knowing that they are a full squad. This then leaves our own squad, now without ourselves, and potentially we haven't even gotten that kill. So what is it we can do to improve or fix this seemingly natural response? Well, to start off with, don't rush in so quickly. I know, that sounds really simple. However, what you need to do is take the time to assess the situation. Once you've inflicted some damage, hold off, wait a moment. Stay at that angle, stay behind cover, and then when they repeak or they run round the corner, kill them. Truthfully, what we have to do is train ourselves to play much more passively. Now, to do this, I'd personally suggest playing a game mode where you only get one life, such as Search and Destroy. This will then give you the option to change the way you play and think. However, don't get too frustrated too quickly, because this is going to take quite some time to help adjust your playstyle and make it feel natural. This means that you need to slow down, because it will be integrated into your playstyle to push too quick. However, train it out of you and you'll start seeing some improvements. Number 2, not taking cover. Now, this is something that I both see all the time and seem to achieve on multiple occasions throughout a game. At times, it feels as though other players have a completely different viewpoint than my own. They have a better line of sight than I do. So, I watch each kill cam and I attempt to copy them. However, things seem very different from my perspective. Could it be as simple as my eyesight? Am I just getting old? I firmly believe, however, that I am taking cover. See, I normally am behind a counter or a building, maybe even a boulder, and I attempt to engage in fights in what to me seems like a good spot. However, in those situations, I always seem to come off worse than I do well. So, what is it that I'm doing wrong? Well, for starters, I need to remember that if I can see them, then they can most likely see me. And when I get hit, I need to move to cover and then move to change my angle of attack. Now, in multiplayer, it really does help to have the stim shot tactical on, because you can get full health back whilst moving to your different angle. However, we do need to move from spawn to our spot of choice, or choices. So it can be difficult to remain behind cover and attack from a specific point. My suggestion is to move so as to not be picked off once the enemy has been respawned. We need to think like a realistic sniper, and we can only have one life. Get cover, kill enemy, move to new cover. Once we understand and master this, we'll see our stats rise. Number 3, movement. So for us within the older generation of casual gaming, it can take quite some time for us to master a new mechanic within our favoured game, franchise or series. And it's going to be no different here with the new Omni movement mechanic that has come with the new instalment of Call of Duty. Sometimes it seems to be amazing, and others it seems like my sense has been turned either up to max or down to 0, and I don't even know which way is up. I have to admit that in the beginning it sounded like a great option. It was going to bridge the gap between console and PC in regard to the direction movement. This was going to be great. I'm going to be able to compete with console and PC players because of cross-platform. That was huge. However, when I jumped into the first game for the first time, it definitely felt much different. It felt like I was attempting to move as I did before, and that then meant I was sliding or diving left or right, backwards and forwards, as I didn't realise that it was a thing. It made me feel either very laggy or very demonic, so we had to get used to new mechanics. This was initially very difficult, but it was there to help us bridge the gap. How is it we're going to use this new shiny toy? Well, I commonly see a trend around either using Omni movement too much or not at all. I definitely believe it should be used, but used at the right time and then perfected in a natural way. If you use Omni movement too much, then it's going to have a massively big knock-on effect of your aim. And are you going to be able to track your enemy? If you don't use Omni movement enough, you're going to allow the enemy team to just shoot you as if you were standing still. Now, to improve on your own Omni movement, I'd suggest having the right setting to enable the Omni movement mechanic, and then it's just going to take time. Now, remember, don't get annoyed, as it could be rather frustrating whilst learning. But, unfortunately, time is all it takes. Number 4, meta loadouts. I am sure we are all guilty of this one. It's where we listen to our content creators or friends about what meta weapons to run for the different maps or the different game modes. We eagerly change our loadout to include the weapon we have just seen shred on somebody's YouTube account. Or maybe a friend has just had one of his exceptional games and offers some advice. If, like me, then you might be looking into websites such as wzhub.gg or even wzstats.gg, who give you insight into what's meta and what the best attachments are. So why is it that when I configure my loadout, as it suggests I do, I feel like I'm shooting hugs and kisses? My bullets feel as though they do absolutely nothing. Well, that should not surprise us. If we would like to improve, then we need to find what works for us. There are so many variations of gun and attachment that change a lot about what its purpose can be. Each of these can then be used with a different playstyle. But the one real thing to remember for this is to make your loadout something you personally can use. If you are, like myself, someone who likes to run and gun, then make your weapon with that in mind, with movement speed and agility. If you are more passive, I'd suggest using attachments that work for good control. Once we master our own style of play, the metaguns or attachments will become either relevant or null and void. But honestly, use a loadout that you feel happy and comfortable with. You'll just have so much more fun. Number 5. Variety. I'm sure you've all heard the saying that doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is the definition of insanity, right? Now, there are countless, and I really do mean countless, occasions where others and I do this within the game. We don't seem to have the capacity to mix things up. Whether it's because we had a mad play down that route once before and think, hell, we can do that again, or is it just because we are blinkered and have no other thought than to just charge at the opponent that just killed us? Of course, we'd all like to get revenge. I know that I want that every time I fall foul to getting angry and just running back to where I believe the enemy to be. And this usually is what sparks a continual loop of spawn dying, which in turn makes me more annoyed and angry. So what do we have to do to improve our odds here? Well, for starters, we need to admit to ourselves that we are doing it. And then we need to actively, and I mean actively, decide to do the opposite. To do what we would like to is comfortable. So we need to go outside of our comfort zone. Ooh, a corridor I didn't know about. An angle I found as I flanked the other way. Just being aware and then actively changing things for ourselves will move us in the right direction, even if it will be difficult to begin with. But ultimately, all of the mistakes being made come down to one overall aspect, and that is your decision making. So, to help improve your game, slow down. Don't rush in too quick. Peek when you go round corners or through areas of cover, but be alert enough to move. Change things up, don't always run the same route. Mix it up a bit. Use omni movement, but only when necessary. And lastly, use the gun you feel most comfortable with. We don't always have to run what our favourite streamer or friend is running, as it may not be what we personally can use. If you found any of my tips useful, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to also hear if there are any other areas of our gameplay we can look at later. What might we be doing that could use a little adjusting? Let's keep the conversation going. Oh, and if you're new here, please consider subscribing for more gaming content. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.